Today we're going to build a mini gaming PC to compete with the brand new PS5 Pro that can do high-end 4K gaming and also way more than a console. I've got a budget of around $1,000 to purchase all of the components and parts for this build, which is around the total cost of a PS5 Pro when you factor in the disk drive, the console, and also that $30 vertical stand, which is a lot of money for a video game console. A huge thank you to Crucial for sponsoring today's video and providing me with their brand new DDR5 Pro RAM sticks. But more about those later on in the video. There's a huge trend right now at the moment of mini gaming PCs. People want minimalistic gaming setups, smaller, but more power packed into their case. Now, mini gaming PCs inherently come with a few issues. That's often having adequate airflow, especially for modern components. GPUs are massive, and CPUs can run quite hot. And when I did a similar video around 2 years ago for the launch of the AMD 7800X 3D, finding the perfect case was quite difficult. So when it comes to building small form factor PCs like this, it's always best to actually read the instructions. Most PC cases are pretty self-explanatory, like exactly the same, but usually small form factor cases, they take apart in a particular way, and often you can remove brackets from the case to get easier access to mount stuff and then put it back in, almost like a tray style mechanism. So that's what I'm going to do, just to triple check the fastest and most efficient way to build this thing is, so I'm not wasting time. This is the case we'll be using in today's video. It kind of looks a bit like a soundbar and has like a vintage retro vibe about it. It's a little bit bigger than I first anticipated. I thought it'd be like half the size, but it still is technically a mini PC. It's available in both black and white, but I went for white so it does match the theme of Sony's PlayStation 5s. And it does have these nice little fangirl accents to the side that are black, so it really does tie in well with a PS5 Pro. But before throwing in our components, let's go ahead and prepare the case. So this case has got a very interesting design. So far, to gain access to the building area, it's had a minimal amount of screws, 4 screws, and we're straight in. So we're going to have to remove these metal bars here in order to unlock full access for inserting the motherboard, the power supply, and the graphics card as easily as possible. The way it will be laid out is as follows. Our motherboard will be sat here, then our graphics card will be located over here, and then we have the option for the all-in-one water cooler to sit over to the left-hand side of the case with the power supply residing in the right-hand corner. There are also some additional storage areas where we can put some SATA SSD drives, which I think I probably will do for just a little bit of mass storage instead of hard drives. But of course, we want maximum performance if we're going to have this compete with a PS5 Pro. So I will use like a Gen 5 NVMe SSD drive for both the boot and also for loading in those video games. In terms of the components that I've chosen for this build, we're going to be using an AMD 7800X 3D. This is maybe a little bit overkill in combination with the graphics card that I've chosen, but I want to ensure there are no restrictions or bottlenecks on potential FPS from this PC. Already, for those of you that are pretty well clued up on pricing, you're probably thinking I'm going over budget, and you wouldn't be too far wrong. However, at the time of making this video, the RTX 50 series is literally just around the corner, so the 40 series GPUs will be on sale soon, and also Black Friday is about 2 weeks away. So all of the different components that I'll be using in this build will no doubt also probably be discounted and on sale. So I'm hoping that we may only just be a few $100s over budget rather than maybe $500 or so once we are finally complete here. So that is the motherboard successfully secured into the case. Now, the main reason why I've gone for the 7800X 3D for the CPU is because the 9800X 3D has literally just came out on the same day as the PS5 Pro, which means you can get this AMD processor for dirt cheap in sales because obviously it's now the old one or the last generation one. Now, this is literally the best gaming CPU in the market, in the world, until it's now obviously being replaced by the latest generation. For the RAM sticks, we're going to be using Crucial's latest DDR5 Pro OC gaming memory with insane speeds with up to 6,400 mega transfers per second, perfect for gamers looking for the smoothest gameplay experience. You can take advantage of the 25% lower latency for higher frame rates per second, ideal for AAA games. And it's so easy to bottleneck your GPU and CPU by cheaping out on your RAM, so it's definitely worth considering some high quality sticks like like this. Every millisecond counts in fast-paced gameplay. Could be the difference between winning or losing. So in terms of the RAM sticks that I'm going to go for, I'm going to actually use the black pair. With this being a build where you can't see them, I may as well use those ones, then save these for like a white build. So these bad boys will do the job, hidden away inside of this case right here. And also, the high-quality aluminium heat spreader is not only aesthetically cool, it's also functional at helping with the performance of the RAM sticks. And I'm also a huge fan of the minimalistic design without any crazy RGB lights on these things. They're simple and classy and also low profile, which is ideal for small form factor PCs or just having way better access if you're water cooling or installing a pretty large CPU cooler. So let me explain the reasoning behind why I chose the RTX 4070 Super for this build. Now, a lot of you may think, oh, we could have got something a little bit higher end. Definitely could have. But I did get this as a B stock GPU, so just open box, so I got it for an insane price. 4070 Super has very good performance. You're looking at around 10 to 15 FPS less on average than something like an RTX 4080. Now, I personally run an RTX 4080 Super in my latest PC build, which is a whole nother level of performance, but this little bad boy is really good. So we can now go ahead and set up our PC. I'm going to hook it up to my 4K 144Hz panel over here, see what we can do with the performance out of this thing. I'm actually really excited to see what numbers that we pull. The performance of this PC is unbelievable and far exceeded my expectations. This thing is on par with the PS5 Pro. Let's kick things off with one of the best titles, which was Spider-Man Remastered. I was able to run this at 4K with almost everything cranked up to high and leveraging DLSS to get around 150 to 154 frames per second consistently. Graphically, this game looked unbelievable and literally never dipped below 145 FPS. The lighting effects, the textures, the ray tracing, everything was perfect. Next up, I booted up Uncharted 4. I tried this title with DLSS off and also DLSS enabled to see how it handled rendering games at native 4K. With everything set roughly around high, I was able to get essentially 4K 60 FPS with no DLSS assistance, which is insane. RTX 4070 Super is doing a super job here. I then turned on NVIDIA DLSS and it was rendering at around 1440p and then upscaling that to 4K, which is pretty standard technology that you even see on the PSSR, on the PS5 Pro. And we were hitting upwards to over 100 frames per second now on Uncharted, which was very smooth and stable. Across both of these games, the render latency averaged around 23 milliseconds, which was super fast and felt very responsive whilst using my wireless controller. Had no complaints in this department. The final game was probably one of the hardest games, which is The Last of Us Part 1. This title in particular is renowned for struggling on PC, crashing, and being very unstable. I tried this with DLSS disabled and had everything set on high. This game in particular has a million different graphic settings, so you can really fine-tune this if you wanted even more performance, but we were able to get around 4K 50 FPS, sometimes hitting around 62 frames per second. And yes, I did have VSync disabled to ensure that this wasn't capping out on the display. The Last of Us Part 1 performed very well, looked really good, and we had so many effects enabled on the high presets here that we could honestly disable if we wanted to squeeze out even more performance. We had all the cinematic stuff on, particles, the motion blur, and it looked absolutely insane. So in conclusion, I think we've absolutely nailed this mini PC build to compete with a PS5 Pro. Of course, it's a little bit more expensive than a PS5 Pro, but you get all of the advantages of having a real computer. You can do more than just play video games on this thing. You can do productivity tasks, you can code, you could edit videos, you could use it for homework, anything you can think of that you can do with a personal computer. Plus, you can also play games at 4K just like the PS5 Pro, which in my opinion makes this system way better value than just a game console in your living room. Don't forget to check out the links down below in the video description for more information on the crucial DDR5 Pro RAM sticks. These are by far some of the best RAM sticks I have tried this year. They look awesome, performed really well, as you've seen in all of those benchmarks right there, and are also very well priced. But as always, I've been Ben Rowlands. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.